everyone. Welcome to another fourth grade lesson today. If you're not a fourth grader, you're still welcome to join us. My name is Amber Smith, and I'm a fourth grade teacher at Finch Elementary School in Spokane Public Schools, and I'm excited that I get to work with you today. So recently, I was with my three kids, and we were cleaning up their rooms, and we discovered they have thousands of building blocks. You know, things like this, and some of my favorites, the little minifigure guys. So we started to put them in different bins, and we counted one of the bins, and we found out that there were 3,100 blocks in this one bin, and there's lots more. Now, we could spend all of our time counting every single block, but I think that would take us hours to do. So we were thinking about how could we figure out approximately how many building blocks that they actually have between the three of them. So that kind of brings us to today's lesson, because it was a thing that we talked about, and that's rounding. So we're going to be talking about the concept of rounding to the nearest thousand with a vertical number line. So get your pencil, paper, and your fabulous brain ready, and we will get started.
All right, so we want to think about how many blocks do I have? So about how many do I have? Sometimes we don't have to have the exact number, and it helps us to think about numbers more quickly when we're rounding. So we're going to be rounding to the nearest thousand, and we're going to be using a vertical number line. So let's use my number of blocks, and let's round that to the nearest thousand using that strategy. So our first thing that we need to do is draw the vertical number line. So you've probably seen other number lines that are going horizontal, going more of a sideways, and this time we're doing it up and down. Now, our first step that we need to do after drawing the vertical number line is we need to figure out what the endpoints are. So when I'm talking about endpoints, I'm talking about the number 3,100. What are the 2 thousands that this number happen to be in between? So let's think about place value. The thousands place is right here. So the bottom endpoint down here is actually going to be that thousand, so 3,000. So 3,100 happens to be in between 3,000, and then what is the next thousand up from that? That'll be our top endpoint. So it happens to be 4,000. 3,100 is in between 3,000 and 4,000. So our goal when we're rounding is to figure out which one is it closest to, so that we can say that it's approximately or about that much instead of giving the exact number. Our next step is to find the midpoint. So the midpoint is the halfway point in between 3,000 and 4,000. So I like to think about what is half of 1,000. So can you think in your head right now what half of 1,000 is? If you said 500, you're correct. So we would just add that on to the 3,000. 3,500. So our two endpoints are 3,000 and 4,000. Our midpoint is 3,500. So first step is draw the vertical number line. Next step is find the endpoint, so the top and the bottom endpoint. Step after that is find the midpoint, so the number right in the middle. And then our next one is we need to plot our actual number on the number line. So 3,100, would it go in this area or this area? Can you think about where it would go? Is it greater than 3,500 or is it less than 3,500? If you said it would go maybe about here, you're correct. So 3,100. Now all we have to do is look at it and decide, is it closer to 3,000 or 4,000? When I look at this, I can easily tell that it is closer to 3,000. So we would say 3,100 is about, that's what this symbol means right here, means about or approximately 3 thousand. So if I'm rounding 3,100 to the nearest thousand, it is 3,000. All right, let's think about those steps and let's try it with another number. So our next number is 3,700. So can you think in a moment before I start what were the steps that we need to go through to figure out which thousand this is nearest to? Step 1, I need to draw my vertical number line. Step 2, I need to find my two endpoints, so my low and my high. So what two thousands are 3,700 in between? Well, if you already have 3,000, that's good. So whatever thousand is involved with that number is going to be your bottom endpoint most of the time, right? Then, one more thousand up from that is 4,000. Looks a lot like our prior one, although we are dealing with a new number. Our midpoint is halfway in between. So think, what is halfway in between 3,000 and 4,000? You said 3,500. You are correct. And next we need to plot 3,700 on this vertical number line. So think about, is it less than 3,500 or greater than 3,500? Which way are we going? Well, I look at 3,500 and I know 3,700 is a little bit more, so it's up here. So if we were going to write this out, we would say 3,700 is about 4,000. It's closest to 4,000. How you doing with that? So think about the steps again. Draw the vertical number line. Find the endpoints, the high and the low. Find the midpoint. Plot the number. And then figure out which is it closest to. Then write it like this to show how you rounded. All right, let's try it with another one. This time we have 23,500. We're going to still round this to the nearest thousand. So I want you to pay attention to where is the thousands place in this number. So think about that. It's right there. It's that 3 right there. So let's draw the vertical number line. Let's get in our endpoints. So a common mistake with this one might be that you would say, oh, this is in between 20,000 and 30,000. But that's to the nearest 10,000. We're still looking at the thousands place. So we're still looking at where that 3 is at. That's a 3,000. So our endpoint down here is 23,000. 23,000. So what's one more thousand than that? If I had to add 1,000 to that number, you should get 24,000. Next, we've got to find that midpoint. So if I had to add 500 to this, because that's half of 1,000, what would I get? If you got 23,500, you are correct. Now our next step is we need to plot that number. Is 23,500, is it greater than or less than our midpoint? You might be looking at that number and saying, hey, it is the midpoint. It's exactly the same amount. Well, mathematicians made a decision that if the number is exactly the midpoint, we're still going to round up. So whenever it's the midpoint or bigger, we're going to round up. So 23,500 rounded to the nearest thousand is about 24,000. So remember that whenever a number falls directly on the midpoint, you're still going to round up. If it's less than the midpoint, you're going to round down. If it's the midpoint or more, you're going to round up. So lock that in your brain today. Okay, let's try another one. Now we've got 16,701. Again, we're rounding to the nearest thousand. So find which place value is in the thousands. If you said 6, you're correct. We've got 6 thousands. We're going to draw our vertical number line. So we should be putting down here 16,000. And then what's 1,000 more than that? If you said 17,000, you are right on track with us. And then what is our halfway point? So adding 500 to your lower endpoint, what would that be? 16,500. So our next step now is to plot the number on our number line. So 16,701. I know that is bigger than my midpoint. I'm going to put it about right there. Okay, so next we need to write what that would look like. So we've got 16,701 is about the same as 17,000. I talk a lot to students about rounding in the classroom and what we actually use it for in the real world. And one example that I give them a lot is when we go to the grocery store. And when we go to the grocery store and if I think about, well, I have $100 to spend today, I might think about things that maybe a box of crackers is $2.99. Well, I automatically round in my brain and say, well, that's about $3. So we're constantly rounding and then adding up to make sure we have enough money. So maybe I'm buying a box of crackers for $3 and a gallon of milk was $2.85. So that's about another $3. 3 plus 3 is 6. It's much easier to add those rounded numbers in my head. So applying that real world learning with rounding, I think, is really important for you to learn that we use this all the time in our daily lives. We also use it in mathematics to figure out if our answers are reasonable. So rounding is a really good strategy to understand.
All right, let's practice with one last number. So we're still going to be rounding to the nearest thousands. And let's look at this number, 458,329. So where is the thousands place, the 1,000s place in this number? If you said it's right here, you were absolutely correct. So the 5 is in the 10,000s place, and the 4 is in the 400,000s place. So our next step is let's draw that vertical number line. Let's figure out what our endpoints are. So we're going to say that's 458,000. Basically just putting zeros in the hundreds, tens, and ones place and keeping everything else the same. Now we've got to go up one more thousand. So how much would that be if you added 1,000 to 458,000? Well, hopefully you got 459,000. Next step, find the midpoint. So halfway in between those two numbers. Since we're rounding to the nearest thousand, again, we're just adding in 500 to the bottom endpoint. So it'd be 458,500. Hopefully you're getting pretty good at finding the endpoints and the midpoints. And then the rest of it comes a little bit easier because now you just got to think about, well, where does it go? So where would 458,329 go on the number line? I'm looking here and I see this is 500. Here's 300. So it's going to go down here somewhere. It's a little bit less than that midpoint. Did you get that? So if I'm writing this out, 458,329 is about 458,000. You've probably noticed throughout this whole lesson that that symbol right there kind of looks like a squiggly equal sign, but remember, it just means is about or approximately. So it says it's about this much. So remember that. That's all it means. Finally, for some additional practice, you can round these numbers to the nearest 1,000 using that vertical number line strategy, and then find a way to communicate it with your teacher. The numbers are 9,779, 4,326, 15,829, and 21,421. So remember your steps of draw the vertical number line, find the endpoints, find the midpoint, plot where your number goes on the number line, and then figure out what it's closest to. Is it closest to the top or the bottom endpoint? And then express that using that fun symbol. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you've enjoyed learning about rounding, and I can't wait to work with you again next time.